I love it when a series that is trying to have a more mystery or just any elements that you're not supposed to exactly know what it is they're going for until much later into the series. I love it when it all comes into place and you just look back, you don't question things, you just immediately think, yeah, that makes sense. Because up to that point, everything was built up, you had all these little clues that, and even aspects that you might have thought, I don't really look at this as anything too weird, but then when the bombshell gets dropped, you think, oh, this was actually foreshadowing and actually points to further highlight why something happened. We learned that everyone on this crew is clones of their parents, and the idea that basically they are vessels. They were raising them to be the perfect ideal young body so their memory could be transferred into them, and basically they could have eternal life, or at least a second life where if you wanted to have the athletic father, his son would be the perfect fit, that he could redo everything that he once did and be even better than he once was. You can have the talented mother who can once again continue her craft of music. You basically just have everyone and their ideas and why they were crafted in the way they were. And for some people, you have Funi, who is basically just a backup for organs. I love the idea that when this bombshell drops, the reaction isn't like, oh my god, cloning's possible. The reaction is, isn't that illegal? Which I really like because they're so far in the future. The idea of cloning in just even memory transportation, it's not something that's ridiculous, but cloning is illegal, which does make sense because if you did have the ability to not only clone, but just keep yourself alive, that would eventually cause overpopulation if you remove the ethical kind of comparisons that people will make with cloning on should they or shouldn't they. The idea that overpopulation would happen if everyone could just make a clone of themselves, grow it up, and then transfer their memories into it. Basically, their planet, even if they have multiple planets they can live on, would eventually just go overpopulated, and basically everyone would just continue to survive for all eternity, which, as great as that may sound, it really isn't possible for human evolution. So I do like that, because when you just look back at just how the parents were, everyone except Aries' mother just didn't seem like good parents. And I like the idea that most of them were basically avoiding their children for the most part, except for Kitteri's mother. She wanted to basically make sure her mind was perfect so when she did go in, she wouldn't be an idiot or anything like that. But the idea that you have a father who wasn't disappointed that his son wasn't following in his footsteps, disappointed because you're my vessel. You have to be this. You have to be strong so when I come into your body, you're not going to basically just be a weakling. And then you have characters like, you can't show yourself to the world and you can't show your talents, not because I'm jealous of you. It's so when I basically transfer my mind into yours, I can be talented on my own accord, not because of what you accomplished. All the little pieces are coming into play, and you just look at the parents' actions and why things happened the way they did, and you think, oh, you don't question things. You immediately just so that's why this happened in episode 2, this is why this happened in episode 3. One of my favorite things about the anime community in particular, I notice this far more with the anime community than other communities, but it does happen across the board with mediums in general, is when you get a first episode, maybe a first couple of episodes, hell, even just through a run of an anime, you'll see a lot of criticisms toward things before they see the resolution. There's a reason why I don't bring up criticisms on story elements and character elements until I see the full thing. Because once you complete an anime season, it's easy to see what went wrong and what went right. But when you're watching something week by week, it's, if you're just overly criticizing something, being like, this character action doesn't make sense, well, how do we know that character action doesn't make sense? There's sometimes you can because it's an open and shut case, but for the most part, 9 times out of 10, what people are criticizing, we don't know if that's actually an issue until we see the full package. In episode 1, we get the camp trip, right? Everyone's going on camp, there's nothing weird, but I saw a good dozen of people just across the internet point out, why is Funi going on this trip? She's a child, that is irresponsible, and this is stupid, and anime, once again, not thinking. Well, we learn in episode 9 weeks later, that they had to kill her too, and it was actually a lot of trouble and kind of manipulation underneath the hood to get her on this trip because governments wouldn't want to send a child by themselves on a space exploration trip. You just gotta wait for things. It's fine to criticize things, but I notice a lot with the anime community, they pick on things that they think is just stupid, and there's a lot of stupid things about anime, don't get me wrong, but sometimes if you're gonna watch something, you gotta wait and see, was there really an issue here? And as we see, all the pieces are connecting in a very elegant manner that I just was like, This is why I love this show. All this time it's trying to bait you into thinking, who's this? Who's the traitor? What's going on? What's this mysterious orb? And then you get this episode where 3/4 of the way through the story and it feels like everything was answered, but then by the end of the episode, they give you a new mystery. Why is it that one character seemingly comes from Earth, but then the rest of them come from planet Astra? And the idea that they don't even know what Earth is. Did she come from a different universe? Did Earth just get like erased from the memories of people? Is Earth still out there? Like, you now have that new question even after all the main mysteries seemingly have been revealed. This is a show that knows how to answer questions, lead you on and let you speculate, but also make sure that you have something to anticipate towards the end goal. And that's just super exciting. I love the idea that this is a show that's confident. It knows how to be anime and ridiculous, but it also knows how to be serious and mature when it counts. And this episode just felt like payoff. It felt like all the building up to this point, it just made sense. At this point, I'm actually gonna say Shars is once again the traitor. I was saying for a while I thought it was Ares, but the only one who didn't have a big reaction to the idea that they're all clones was him. And he did argue that the reason was because he's so distant from his family that it didn't really hit him, which could be true, but I would think the reason there would be a traitor at this point in time is because he knows he's clones, or maybe she, depending on who it is, and they know they're already clones and they don't want to go back home because they'll get killed. That's my new theory, but that's probably wrong because I've had like 4 theories on who the traitor is at this point in time, but that's the fun thing. But I'm going back to Shars. I feel like he was the only one without a reaction, right? And with the idea that Ares most likely was adopted and the mother actually did have genuine love for her, it makes sense. It just feels like the parents' actions, they all feel justified in what was happening, and it just feels like there was actually planning and structuring, which kind of shows the difference between an author writing a manga that's trying to just continue volume from volume from volume, versus a story that was a very self-contained story that didn't pad it out, drag it out, and add filler where it was unnecessary. This feels like a self-contained story that only needed 1 season of anime to tell what it is it was aiming for, and only a handful of volumes in its source material to nail what it was aiming for. And not many series can do that, especially with Space. I feel like Space is one of those series that gets padded out far more than even isekais a lot of the time. Just, if you look across the board, there's so many series that's just like, did you need this many movies? Did you need this many episodes? Did you need this many books? Like, no, you didn't. It was fun, but we could have wrapped it up a lot quicker. And I feel like this is a story that easily could have been 3 times as long, and it would have been enjoyable. We could have explored so many more planets. We only have 1 more planet in planet Astra before we go back home, but they could have had another 12 planets, and they could have made it work, but did we need it? No. That's what I love. It's a very confident series, and honestly, I feel like what this series is aiming for, you could probably show this to a lot of people who've never really touched anime, and you could show them this and they would have a better understanding without feeling creeped out by anime. There's a lot of series that you could show people who've never watched this medium and they would say, what is wrong with you and why is there so many tentacles? However, this is a series that, even though there's a lot of comedy and even you could say cliche elements that may deter people away from the show, it is something that I feel like you could show someone even if they're not interested in the episode that you show them, and they would say, oh, I understand why you like anime, it just may not be for me, or it would hook them. It's just a series that actually blends so many mature and just interesting space elements, but also has that kind of comedy and that overall just kind of banter charm that anime is known for, especially with slice of life and high school based series. And that's what I love about this show. It's just something that does far more right than wrong at this point in time. There's a point in this episode that just had me laughing so loud, out loud, that I was just like, I can't believe this. After all the bombshells of what's going on, the cloning, the memories, and just the idea of what was happening, they announced their marriage. And just the way they dropped the tension, the way they just let everyone freak out, and then you get this like nuclear bomb scene, I was like dumbfounded. I was like, this didn't have to happen here. They didn't have to, but the idea of just relieving tension and just letting everyone just freak out and act like themselves again was the funniest thing. The idea of the marriage and how you can't read this alien-like creature and how he's saying how cute Kittery is. It was just the funniest thing, and how you have people like Ares who will just keep pushing and pushing, being like, what do you really like? And it just feels like it's a nuclear bomb going off. Even more of a nuclear bomb than learning that they're all clones and basically they were sent to be killed by supposedly the people who were supposed to care for them. I just love it. It was such a like, this is what we need. We have all this information, our minds are racing, connecting all the dots of what's happened over the past 9 weeks, and then boom, marriage, and we're just like, that's why we love this show so damn much. I just really appreciate the idea of, if you look at every single character and why they wouldn't want them to go to a doctor, why they wouldn't want them to be in the spotlight, why they would want them to act a certain way and develop their brain or body in a certain ways, it feels like, oh, this is why this was happening in this way. And the idea of Aries' mother being completely oblivious because she wouldn't know that she's actually a clone, and most likely Sierra. It just feels like this is a series that didn't aim for too much. A lot of the times when you're going with memory manipulation, cloning, things like that, the authors, the studios, the people working on the story details, they reach a little too far. They try to do a little too much, and in result, there's a lot of loose ends. I don't think there's a loose end here. I really like just looking at all the episodes and what they were building up to. It feels like for the time period, it feels like for the technology, it feels like for all the hints that we've seen, if you connect the dots, it just feels like a straight line. It feels like, oh, of course we didn't piece together all these lines, but you're like, oh, this makes total sense, and it feels like it did everything it needed to. And in a lot of authors' hands, even if they manage this, that would be the mystery. We'd be done, and there'd be no more questioning, why is this happening? But by the end of the episode, we learn that, oh, Earth isn't here. We got planet Astra, what's going on? Even though it looks like Earth, the countries aren't where they should be. It just feels like, what's truly going on here? And we still have, like, once they get home, will they get arrested? And then also, what's with this other character and seemingly coming from Earth, but Earth not being a part of their world? That's so interesting. This episode just radiated confidence. It felt like it knew what it was doing, and the payoff was so sweet because of all the build-up up to this point, and it just leaves me saying, like, yeah, this is definitely my hidden gem of the season. There's a couple of strong choices that I've been kind of humming and hawing about, and even if the final few episodes kind of drop in quality, which I highly doubt it will, I still feel like everything up to this point just makes me say, this is my hidden gem. I know the people who read the manga were just really hyping it up, but I feel like even as it's airing, a lot of people are sleeping on this gem, and it's just so damn good. It's something that I'm definitely going to be remembering, and when I talk about anime in 2019, my roundup for the year, this is definitely one I'm going to be singing praise, because this is a series that probably will be like top 10 of the year for me. I think it's just exceptionally well done, but let me know what everyone thought down in the comment section below. The bombshells, where do you think next week is going to go after that cliffhanger as the credits were playing? You always know it's serious when the credits continue to play as dialogue is being said. I love it so much, especially within series like Astra, but let me know what everyone's feeling. If you did enjoy this video though, be sure to drop a like and also hit that subscribe button if you haven't been new. So until next time everyone, please take care and have a good one.